wanted to highlight a few things for background. Here is Bill Kristol addressing, yes, neocon Bill Kristol, addressing how we got here. And part of this was allowing Maliki to become a dictator. Once we left, we had no leverage. And the mistreatment of the Sunnis, which made it fertile ground for ISIS, the offshoot of Al-Qaeda. That's part of it. But he also highlighted something I spoke of last night during the interview. I don't know if Bill Kristol's listening to the show. I'm kidding, of course. No, not really. Because he did identify and actually explored it a bit deeper, the Syrian question of what happened in Syria. And neglecting Syria and not taking advantage of our opportunities to identify folks that worked with us or could work with us. Roll it.
This is the Syrian civil war morphing into Iraq. So those of us who argued for getting into Syria in 2011, everyone said, oh no, it's very tough. It was. It is tough, and it will be very tough to get into Iraq now. It's complicated. Neither side was perfect, though there were really pro-Western types in Syria in 2011. Then in 2013, when the president said he wanted to go in after Assad used chemical weapons, some of us supported him. He backed off. It was too complicated. There were bad guys on both sides. And now we have 160,000 dead in Syria, and Syria now exporting its chaos and civil war.
All right, so that's a part of missing the opportunity. We're going to address that through an historian's eyes, and also in the vein of what a soldier would do and a commander would do with Colonel Gordon Kikuyu. Here is a little more background. President Obama's response to the surge. Listen to what he had to say in 2007 about increasing the amount of troops in Iraq that proved to be successful and handed him a victory. Roll it.
I am not persuaded that 20,000 additional troops in Iraq is going to solve the sectarian violence there. In fact, I think it'll do the reverse. I think it takes pressure off the Iraqis to arrive at the sort of political accommodation that every observer believes is the ultimate solution to the problems we face there. So I am going to actively oppose the president's proposal. I don't doubt his sincerity when he says that he thinks this is the best approach, but I think he is wrong. And I think the American people believe he's wrong.
And here's what Mitt Romney said in 2007. Roll it.
Let me take just a minute and talk about our troops in Iraq. Boy, we want them home. Every person in this room wants them home. We want them as soon as we possibly can have them home. But as we think about bringing them home, we also have to recognize the risks associated with what we're facing there. Because if we were to see a collapse of the government there, a collapse of the country in some way, you could see potentially a massive civil war, full-out civil war breaking out with potentially millions of lives being lost there. You could see in the Shia South, the Iranians reaching over and grabbing to take power. You could see in the Sunni Northwest, the Al-Qaeda folks taking power and taking leadership in that area and establishing a base for terror that could be awful for us for many, many years indeed. You could see the unrest among some of the Kurd populations in surrounding countries perhaps destabilize the borders of Turkey. And it's even possible that you might think that a regional conflict throughout the Middle East could occur if things really unraveled in Iraq. And for those reasons, you recognize that unless we manage this properly, there is a significant risk that the impact on American lives and the need to send American troops back there in even larger numbers could occur. And so we have to, as Americans, say, what is in our best interest as Americans? What are our best American interests with all those things in mind? And despite how badly we want all of our troops to come home right now, we don't want to send more later and lose even more lives. With that in mind, I support the President in his effort to stabilize the population of Iraq and to bring success as long as there's a reasonable prospect of that occurring.
I realize that people have very different viewpoints when it comes to Iraq about getting into the war. Some of those are based on the bunny stew notion that Bush lied himself into the war in Iraq because he wanted to take care of daddy, in the sense that Saddam Hussein threatened his father's life and attempted to assassinate his father, or had a plan hatched to do so. Now, if you're part of that Maureen Dowd MSNBC bunch. I can't help you. The only thing that can help you truly is a psychiatrist and a tuna sandwich to get protein to your melon. I don't know if you didn't get enough hugs. I would say this: God loves you. He created you, and you're worth it. Now, for people who had strategic differences with going into Iraq, all right, welcome to the show. Great to have you on. I disagree with you there. And we are also dealing with a situation now where we are in Iraq, have been in Iraq, and secured Iraq through the surge. Handed that to President Obama, that wonderful line of, hey, let them work it out between themselves, the politics of it all. And it's their job. It hasn't worked out too well, has it? Now we're in a situation where we're actually contemplating working with Iran.